Hi, welcome to our channel Programming of Mind, where we accelerate your knowledge with concise, from high-value book summaries. Let's begin. The world of desire, the illusion of wealth and power. Having experienced the austerity of asceticism and the transient pleasures of indulgence, Siddhartha was faced with a new challenge, the search for balance. While the ascetic way of life had promised spiritual liberation, it lacked the richness and complexity that life had to offer. On the other hand, the indulgence in sensual pleasures and material wealth left him feeling empty. It was through the interactions with Kamala, the courtesan, and the powerful merchant, Kamaswami, that Siddhartha began to learn about the world of desire, the world that drives many to search for happiness in wealth, status, and physical pleasure. Siddhartha's encounter with Kamala. Kamala, a woman of great beauty and intelligence, represented the world of sensual pleasures. She was an experienced courtesan who knew the ways of love and the art of seduction. For Siddhartha, she was both a teacher and a lover, someone who introduced him to a different way of living. Her world was one of luxury, fine food, silk garments, and a life of indulgence. Siddhartha's education under Kamala was both practical and emotional. He learned to appreciate the beauty of love, the richness of pleasure, and the power of attraction. Kamala was not merely a physical teacher. She was also a mentor who taught him the ways of social power, including the art of negotiation, charm, and the use of material wealth to get what one wanted. At first, Siddhartha was thrilled by the new experiences that this world opened to him. He was no longer fasting, no longer denying himself. Instead, he was living in the moment, enjoying the pleasures that life had to offer. However, as he immersed himself deeper into this world, a sense of dissatisfaction began to creep in. The pleasures, though rich and enticing, began to lose their charm. Kamala, although wise and beautiful, could not fill the void inside him. Siddhartha began to realize that, like the ascetics he had left behind, the world of desire had its own limitations. Kamaswami, the merchant of desire. Through Kamala, Siddhartha also came into contact with Kamaswami, a rich merchant who had a sharp mind for business and an understanding of the ways in which wealth and power could control people's lives. Kamaswami was a man who had mastered the art of business, understanding both the material world and the human desires that drove people to accumulate wealth. Under Kamaswami's mentorship, Siddhartha learned the intricacies of trade, bargaining, and managing resources. He became skilled in managing wealth, accumulating possessions, and understanding the desires that made people invest in material goods. At first, Siddhartha was fascinated by this new world. The idea of controlling resources and understanding human desires was appealing. He could see how power and wealth could influence people's decisions and how they could be used to shape the world around him. Siddhartha's success as a merchant was quick, and soon he was able to amass a considerable fortune. His lifestyle became one of luxury and indulgence. He lived in a grand house, had fine clothes, and could procure whatever he desired. However, despite the success, Siddhartha felt a growing emptiness inside him. The wealth he had accumulated, the status he had gained, and the pleasures he had experienced did not bring him the lasting peace or fulfillment that he had hoped for. This is where Siddhartha's story diverges from many in our modern world. While most people would continue to chase after wealth and pleasure, Siddhartha began to question the very foundation of his desires. He had once thought that pleasure would fill the void within him, but he realized that the pursuit of sensual enjoyment, without deeper purpose, was ultimately unfulfilling. This disillusionment led Siddhartha to rethink his priorities in life. A real-life parallel, the corporate ladder. Siddhartha's experiences in the world of wealth and power can be compared to the lives of many modern individuals who chase financial success and social status, believing that they will bring happiness. Take Mark, a successful entrepreneur who had built his business from the ground up. He had achieved everything that society deemed important: financial independence, recognition, and a lifestyle of luxury. Yet, despite his achievements, Mark felt a deep sense of emptiness. He often questioned the meaning of his success. He was no longer motivated by passion or purpose, but by the desire to sustain his wealth and status. Much like Siddhartha's realization that wealth and sensual pleasures could not provide true fulfillment, Mark began to wonder if there was more to life than just financial success. He questioned whether his focus on external validation was holding him back from a deeper sense of contentment. Just as Siddhartha's immersion in the world of wealth left him feeling unsatisfied, Mark realized that his material pursuits had not given him the lasting happiness he had once hoped for. The realization of the illusion. As Siddhartha continued to live in the world of wealth and desire, he began to observe the effects of materialism on himself and others. He noticed how people were constantly chasing after the next pleasurable experience or the next material possession, never fully satisfied with what they had. The desire for more was insatiable, and it created an endless cycle of pursuit without fulfillment. Siddhartha's interactions with Kamaswami and Kamala led him to understand that the more one indulges in sensual pleasures, the more one becomes enslaved by them. The pursuit of pleasure becomes a never-ending cycle, and true peace and contentment are elusive. One day, Siddhartha realized that his life in the world of material wealth and pleasure was not leading him to the answers he sought. Despite the external trappings of success, he still felt disconnected, still felt the emptiness inside him. He understood that material success could never fill the void of spiritual yearning. Siddhartha realized that happiness was not about gaining more wealth or indulging in more pleasure. It was about transcending the need for them altogether. A real-life parallel, the cycle of overindulgence. Siddhartha's disillusionment with wealth and sensual pleasure is similar to the experiences of modern individuals who find themselves caught in a cycle of overindulgence. Take Emily, a successful marketing executive who, like Siddhartha, lived a life filled with luxury and excess. She was constantly buying the latest gadgets, attending extravagant parties, and living for the weekend. On the surface, Emily had everything she could ever want: money, fame, and social validation. But inside, she felt lonely and disconnected. No matter how much she accumulated, it never seemed to fill the emptiness she felt within herself. It was only when Emily took a step back and reevaluated her life that she realized her pursuit of material wealth and pleasure had left her feeling unfulfilled. Just like Siddhartha, she understood that the external pursuit of happiness could not bring her the inner peace she longed for. Emily's journey mirrored Siddhartha's realization that true fulfillment comes not from the external world, but from within. The decision to leave the world of desire. As Siddhartha spent more time in the world of wealth and pleasure, he began to notice how disconnected he had become from his true self. The man who had once sought spiritual enlightenment had now become immersed in the pleasures of the body and the desires of the mind. The very things he had once rejected, wealth, power, and sensual pleasures, had now become his identity. He had achieved everything he thought he wanted, yet he felt a deep sense of dissatisfaction. At last, Siddhartha made a decision that would mark the next stage of his journey. He chose to leave behind the life of indulgence, the wealth, and the world of desire. Siddhartha understood that true happiness was not found in pleasure or material wealth, but in the transcendence of these desires. The cycle of chasing pleasure and accumulating wealth had to be broken. He decided to continue his search for a deeper truth, one that could not be found in the external world, but only within himself. Thank you for listening, and please like the video and subscribe for more great upcoming content that will put you in top 1% people in the world.